So in the last video, we was talking about Little Richard once again, and we looked at the documentary or the movie that was made about him, and the little part that he mentioned when he met the Beatles and the Beatles spent time with him. Um, because according to that information, the Beatles probably wouldn't have had much talent as they did have had he not met Little Richard. And I think in other videos we reacted to, um, Little Richard was in Cross Seas when they spent time with him. So yeah, so we gonna go ahead and check this out. And shout out to Daniel Bildo for this one. Um, but I really like these like historical accounts. You know what I mean? So if you got any more of historical accounts like this, I want to see all of it. All right. So um once again, you know what I'm saying? I got the members tab, you know what I'm saying? I'm continually uploading videos daily on the members tab. And if you want access to those videos, man, the pricing starts at $3.99. And we'll just go from there. It's not required. I just if you want to get it early, yeah, that's what you need to do. So let's get it.
Wonderful book, Little Richard. You know, a lot of the great superstars of music still credit you.
Yes.
With beginning the whole thing, whether you're happy about it now or you're not.
I'm glad about it.
Yeah.
I'm glad about it.
What are your first memories of the Beatles? They were great fans of yours.
Well, when Brian Epstein brought me to Liverpool, his dad had some record stores, and so they brought me there to do an engagement at the ballroom there. And he had these four little boys looking very strange to me. And he says, he said, they just love you. I said to myself, I was saying, I hope they don't, you know?
Yeah.
He says, they just crazy. And Paul...
That's so funny.
Strange to me. And he said, they just love you. I said to myself, I was saying, I hope they don't, you know?
Yeah.
He says, they just crazy. And Paul just took my hand and he just pulled my fingers. And John wasn't pulling as much as Paul.
Yeah, yeah.
Paul really pulled.
Yeah.
And George was pulling, and Ringo was pulling, and they had just got rid of this guy Best from them at the time. And they was asking me how did it look in America, and they were singing all of my songs. And Paul used to like when I said, woo, he loved that.
But you can still do that.
Oh, yes, I haven't lost anything.
Oh, that's good.
Just add on to it.
Just add it on.
And they just loved me, and you know, so I went to Hamburg, Germany with them, and they was making $50 per person. And it was me, the Swinging Blue Jeans, Casilla Black, the Rolling Stones.
Oh, wow.
They didn't have nowhere to stay, and they would stay sleeping on the floor. You know,
same account he said in the other video.
Jimi Hendrix was my guitar player.
Right.
He was 18 years old. Billy Preston was
Wow.
the organist.
Oh.
Wow.
He was 14. James Brown was our vocalist.
No.
And so you see, he and I was raised
What?
together.
You had a super band like that? And that never made it to America? A band with James as the lead, Jimmy on the guitar, Billy Preston. Dude. Dude, if that band would have made it anywhere closer to America, it would have been a wrap for the Beatles. Y'all got to admit that. It would have been a wrap. Little Richard on the piano, Jimi Hendrix, James Brown, and Billy Preston in one band. Oh, nah. You wouldn't even heard of the Beatles. You wouldn't even heard of Led Zeppelin. You wouldn't have heard of Grand Funk Railroad if those four guys would have got together and made some music. And I wonder if like they got some unreleased stuff, but if they would have got together and made some music, it would have been a rap for a long time.
James Brown was our vocalist.
No.
And so you see, he and I was raised together. He used to like to
Wow.
beat me because I looked better than he did. And everybody was talking about how beautiful I was.
Yeah.
And he wanted to beat me to mess it up.
So the Beatles were around a lot.
A lot,
that time,
yes.
Yeah.
And I had to pay for their food, Merv. You know, if you all are listening, send my money back, please.
Yeah.
The
Boy,
Beatles.
Paul's got
Oh,
he's
Paul,
got plenty of money.
He has enough to send. Paul, Linda, Hi, dog. But what happened was, Paul was so nice, you know. John used to like to mess with me in my dressing room, you know, quite a bit. I can't say on television what he did, you know. He was something else. In fact, I never met nobody like him.
Really?
I don't think nobody met nobody like him.
No.
But I mean, I don't mean he was bad. Now, listen here, I'm not saying nothing bad about him. God bless his soul. But he was all right, but he would mess with me. He wouldn't let me out of my dressing room.
Oh.
He would hold me he would hold the door. And I would be screaming.
My.
And loud.
Loud, I'm sure.
And sometimes I would have screamed like a white lady. Woo!
Did you ever think that...
And you know, black ladies say, woo!
Oh, yeah. And white ladies go...
Excuse me for cutting you off.
No, that's all right. But did you ever think the Beatles would get so big?
No, Brian Epstein offered me a tape to bring back of the Beatles. They was singing Good Golly Miss Molly and Long Tall Sally. They was singing Rip It Up and Ready Teddy. And, you know, I would go over there and they would always call me king. You know, when I get over there, the Beatles said, you know, you're the king. Mick Jagger, they said, you're the king. Everybody, and they would put their coats down for me to walk on when it be raining. They would take off their coats and said, we can't afford for you to get wet. Said that your history, you're the creator.
Wow.
And I didn't feel that way, you know, although I knew that what they were saying was the truth. And so it just really shook my mind, you know, and all these years, and then when I look back and see David Bowie, you know, which admits that he got his style, that I was his inspiration, Boy George. Michael Jackson says I'm his idol. Prince, and I thank God that I'm a living legend and not a dead one.
Dead one, yeah.
Right,
Most of them are
right.
gone.
I know. You know, and you're still here.
Looking good.
I know.
You ain't gonna take his, hey, you ain't gonna take his confidence away, boy.
Well, there he was, and here he is, at home. Get up and applaud, Mr. Little Richard. Let me tell you about Elvis Presley called him the greatest. Smokey Robinson said he was the beginning of rock and roll.
Wow.
Mick Jagger admitted half of what I know I learned from watching his stage act. John Lennon says he was better than Elvis. Paul McCartney said he was my idol. Keith Richards acknowledged that he was the most exciting moment of my life was appearing on stage with Little Richard. Dick Clark simply called him the greatest rock and roll legend of our time. And here he sits. Nice to have you.
Wow, bro, he is getting the Jordan treatment from all his peers. So if all his peers are saying this, why in the media is not portrayed in music? You know what I mean? Like by the 90s, you completely forgot about Little Richard. Like he was nowhere in the music industry and R&B and hip hop and stuff. And I mean, I'm pretty sure he cut a few records in the 90s. Like that's kind of like, it's kind of terrible, man. It's kind of terrible. Like the man was the epitome of rock and roll, the source, the roots of rock and roll was Little Richard. And yet, by the time the 90s started, nobody knew. You know what I'm saying? He was pretty much blanketed out in the media, but all his peers are saying this. But did his peers give back to him to make sure he was okay? You know, like, I don't know. You know, maybe just because you pioneer something doesn't mean everybody owes you anything, you know? But the creditation, like, he never said he was the greatest. His peers said it, just like Jordan. Jordan never said he was the GOAT. But all his peers and other stories, you let your peers talk about you like that. You know what I mean? So that just brings more credence to his story, you know, overall.
Rock and roll legend of our time. And here he sits. Nice to have you with us. Let's move on from, we're talking about the foundation to the many people you've influenced. Can you recall some of your early meetings with the Beatles?
Oh, yes.
And what they said to you, what you said to them, where you were, and what it was like making early music with the Beatles?
I can see it right now, almost like a vision. When I first went to Liverpool, Brian Epstein's daddy owned a lot of record stores, and he brought me to the ballroom there. And when I walked in, he said, "Richard, I got 4 guys. Would you mind taking a picture with my group?" He said, "One day I hope they record and they become famous." He says, "I'll give you a percentage to take this tape back to the States," which I didn't even take it. I didn't believe they was going to make it. I must tell you the truth.
Well, okay. So you sat in the club and you saw their set. Did
Yeah.
you see their set?
No, I heard it from this. I was behind stage. I was in the dressing room.
What were you, now they're talking about, that may even been before Ringo was part of the group.
No, Ringo had just came with them.
With the group, okay. What do you remember thinking about what they were doing there?
Well, they were singing "Love, Love Me Do," you know, I love you, so please, 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 love me do. They would have sung "Good Golly Miss Molly," but I was on the show, they couldn't sing it.
Right.
They sound good. Paul was unbelievable. To me, I felt that he could make it himself. I felt that the Rolling Stones could make it all the way because they were so rocker, really rockers type of group. But after I went on the stage and they were so excited, they just wanted to touch me. I took them with me to Hamburg, Germany, to the Star Club, where they went on right before me. They had my name out in the streets, and the Beatles had a little name in Hamburg where they had been going there working in the Star Club.
There.
They was bringing all the groups out of England there, you know, to perform. And so we went there, and we would sit in the dressing room between shows, me and Paul, John, and they would listen to me, and they liked it that, woo! They wanted that so bad, you know, and Paul could do it, you know, and he would just get, you know, he couldn't do it as good. He could do it, but not where he wanted to be.
What did they then do from that point, in your view as a musician, that, in addition to the shrewd management, that helped launch them? How did they grow musically?
I think that they grew very rapidly because what they did was, I think the Beatles themselves were surprised with the phenomenal success that happened to them. I'm sure they were shocked because they went back and got the old music. They went back and got me, Chuck Berry, Bo Diddley. They went back and picked us up, you know, and Mick Jagger went back and got the Muddy Waters and Elmo James and Howlin' Wolf, and they just, what they did, they brought it back to the public. Instead of coming out of America, they brought it from Europe and threw it back across the water. So now, here it is, it's good.
And then they had the ability to write good stuff themselves.
Oh, they're fantastic. Some of the greatest writers.
Unbelievable. We'll take a break. Our phone number 570-1199. Lots more with
and
Little
I love
Richard.
you.
He does.
That man should have been everywhere. You know, when I was younger, man, when we would talk about Little Richard was more like the source of jokes back then when we was younger, in the early 90s. Like, you know, he was comedy relief at that time. And we didn't know his history. We didn't know he pioneered so much for music, you know. To me, it's sad when the pioneers go out like that. They would never I don't think people would ever let Paul McCartney go out like that. Or they didn't let Eddie Van Halen go out like that, you know? You know, go out with nothing almost, you know? Like Little Richard, he left this earth. Little Richard left this earth almost, now I wouldn't say a shell of his former self, but without the real accreditation. I don't know if he actually cared though. I think he wanted the acknowledgement. He wanted, between the things that he would be wrestling with himself, but I think he wanted it, but he definitely wanted them residuals though. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how they got like sync licensing and all that stuff, where music licensing or publishing and stuff like that. Little Richard should have been getting residuals from all those guys. And I think for some reason, like, I think the music industry gets away with that somewhat, you know, because if you I'm saying this in 2025, but if Little Richard had anybody around him that, he should have been making contracts. You know what I'm saying? Hey, whatever they make, I get a percentage of that. since I influenced them, I get a percentage of that. Cause yeah, hey, y'all ain't finna leave me out in the dust. You know what I mean? But this is the whole thing about what a lot of artists, black artists, went through. And just like he said at the end of the video, you know, they went back and got the old music and brought it up. You know what I'm saying? Rolling Stones went and got Muddy Waters. You know what I'm saying? The Beatles went back and got, so it's almost like they came into the music industry as a cover band that made these old songs more popular than it was with the original contributors. And what do you do about that? You know what I'm saying? What do you do about your, your music being more famous with other people than with you? You know? I would hate for any artist to go through that, honestly. No matter what color you're going through, like a song that you wrote for you is banging or more famous with other people. I don't know. I think as an artist that would kind of tear me apart. You know what I mean? So, but with that being said, shout out to Daniel Bildo for this one. I like this one, man. Let me know if you guys want more reactions like this. And let me know in the comments how you feel. All right. Catch you in another one. Peace.